What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday. I'm going to keep this one a little bit quick because I'm a little bit late on my builds and a bunch of stuff today. So basically, I'll just tell you what I'm doing at captain. My captains are Diontae Johnson. I'm going to switch one over here to George Pickens instead. Diontae Johnson, George Pickens. I'm sorry, I'm just grabbing this. I will have one Steelers defense. And I'm just making sure I have this right. Okay. One Steelers defense and sorry, my alarm's going off. One Steelers defense, Diontae Johnson, George Pickens, DeAndre Hopkins, and those are my main captains. I'm playing Levis more than I am Pickett, but I'm playing both some. I feel nervous about the Pickett play. I don't really trust it, but I want to play the Johnson lineup with him, and I'm just trying to figure it out. So I've also got a pretty good amount of both Jaylen Warren and Derrick Henry, but I'm going to play Henry and Tajay Spears in some lineups where I have a 4-man Pittsburgh stack on the other side. I think it's an interesting way to go about it tonight. And I think I want to include the Steelers defense. Right now I've got the Steelers defense in all of my big buy-ins, and I'm probably going to change that a little bit because I don't think I need to sell out that much on it. I also think this Levis kid might end up being good, but it just seems like we don't need to be playing them in every lineup. So I'm probably going to have to make some changes there. But if I look at my current exposure, right now I've got the Steelers defense as my highest owned, if anything. Other highest owned would be Levis, Pickens, Henry, then Johnson, Pickens, Pickett, then Tajay Spears, Cam Hayward. Hayward actually might be a good captain to consider for people who want to get a little bit weird with it. That's a good idea. I also don't mind Chris Boswell as a kicker tonight. I think this is a good spot for it. DeAndre Hopkins. And then, like I said, sort of splitting up Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, getting to a little bit of Westbrook-Akine and, some long shot stuff, Treylon Burks, and then a little bit of the Titans defense. That's pretty much my player pool for what I've got. So if you guys have any thoughts or questions, please pop them on in here. Hit the like button and subscribe. We can talk a little more about basketball if you guys want to. The problem is we still don't have a lineup yet for the Pistons and Pelicans, which we're going to need before we can make our strong decisions, because that's going to dictate a lot. Do they start Larry Nance? Do they start Dyson Daniels along with Hawkins and McCollum? Either way, you're going to want at least 3 guys from New Orleans on every team, I think. It's just really hard for me to see how they bust. This is it. I think that's interesting that the Hayward as a captain. I think Henry's going to be pretty popular, Cruz, but I think that Hayward is looking at the ownerships for captains, and Henry will probably be the most owned, but it's close between he and Diontae Johnson. But I think that you could make a good argument for what you mentioned, Connor Hayward, and I think that you could make an argument for the Steelers defense. I really do. Look, I know Levis looked good. I actually believe that maybe he is good, but we'll see. And that Pittsburgh defense is much better than they probably get credit for. A lot of their numbers that are bad are partly because they turn the ball over a lot inside their own territory, and they also they don't stay on the field very long. They don't move the chains enough. But the pass funnel defense for Tennessee, and I think that you want to play the Pittsburgh passing game. Both running backs from Tennessee is a little bit the way that I'm treating this one, or I'm using the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. As I mentioned, I have them like 60%, so I'm pretty high on that as well. And I think you can make a Hayward argument for captain. I think you can make an argument for captain for the Steelers D, and I think they're pretty good arguments, to be honest with you. But I do think this does feel like more of a defensive game. I think both defenses in the flex is totally viable, and would have no issue with that. That's pretty much mostly where I'm at here. Hayward, Pickett, Steelers, Henry, Hopkins. There you go. Kind of builds itself nicely. It looks pretty good when you do the Hayward as a captain. You just need Hayward to get in the end zone, right? That's pretty much what we're looking for. That looks actually pretty good. All right, so pop in questions and thoughts. Anybody who I didn't mention that you want to mention, anybody that I have mentioned that you are higher or lower on, I'm happy to talk about it. If it's a low-scoring game, you can just fit in everyone who scores DK points in the line, the path for Hayward captain. Absolutely, I agree with that completely. But part of if it's a low scoring game, part of who might score points might be the Steelers defense. Like that's a legitimate thing here tonight. People have made fun of us, especially on a Thursday night football game. Like, oh, how did you win? Because I chopped that big one with the double defense earlier in the year. And, oh, you can't win. It's too impossible for the results to happen. Well, when you have these types of offenses, it can happen. It can definitely happen. You might see a defense with like 18 points by the end of the night. So defense could be the highest scoring player on the slate. It's definitely possible. I'd still lean Nuke Hopkins to be the most. I think Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, and George Pickens would be my best bets for the highest scoring. Of course, you could throw in, then you've got Henry. Then it would get to be the quarterbacks is the way that I see it. And I like Jaylen Warren. I think the Jaylen Warren's another one you could definitely play around with in the captain spot. They give him plenty of work, and there's no reason why it couldn't be him who has the bigger game as opposed to the other side with Najee Harris. And while Najee will get more chances, I mean, Jaylen Warren scores more points than Najee Harris does, fantasy points, so far this season. Probably worth noting just that the ownership will be you'll have, let's see, Najee is getting some ownership at captain. Like Jaylen Warren's getting a little bit, I guess. Yeah. Like I said, I have both those guys. I have some interest. I do like the double. I didn't get to all 4 running backs tonight, but I like the double running backs. I like the Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry, and I think it's totally viable to go Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. So kind of like the idea. I did split them up, but you don't have to. I don't think the Steelers DK. Yeah, I agree with you, Brandon. They have a chance to work 7-12, but like, don't forget, like with that offense, I mean, we've seen defenses score. I mean, the highest scoring player on a full Sunday slate earlier this year was the Bills defense with 35 fantasy points. They were the highest scoring of anybody. The Cowboys have scored over 30 points with their defense this year. Why couldn't the Steelers against Tennessee, with a quarterback with 1 start under his belt, a team that's giving up at home in a place that's tough to play, why couldn't the Pittsburgh defense score like 15 to 20 points? I think it's very possible. Anyway. All right, so that's pretty much all I've got for this. Again, it's always tricky we're trying to figure out the best way to do it. I'm glad we're able to provide everything, and we have our shows. I'm doing all my builds, my exposure. I just posted in the Discord. But it is really hard sometimes. This is a little bit easier because it's only a 4-game basketball slate, but there was a lot of news to look out for. With Monday, when they had the 11-gamer, man, with the Monday Night Football game, man, it just felt like a lot of stuff that you're trying to think through and get at your, really master by the time you run it out there. So we'll see how the sim lineups do tonight. We're going to be all facing up against a bunch of them. I'm going to get more into the sim stuff myself with Sheets when he gets back. And so good luck to everybody tonight. I hope you guys crush it. And thanks for joining in. Please give us the like button. And don't forget, you can sign up for TrueDFS with promo code BobbyFi NBA. And I just want to remind everybody that you get SaberSims projections, you get Goldie's projections, which is probably like one of the coolest things in the industry. It's the industry aggregate, taking everybody else's projections and combining it in one place. Goldie's done an incredible job with that. Shout out to him. And Sheets' projections, which are similar, but they're all slanted towards things that he wants to put a slant on. It's his proprietary stuff, so I can't say exactly what all of it is. But all I can tell you is if you want to see a guy who's like wins everything and risks very little, I think you should be following Sheets. And also, we try to do the thing on this site that no one else is doing, and that's really teach people how to play. And we're going to do some more coaching roundtable sessions, things like that. We're only going to do them for members, so we want you guys to get involved in that. Let us know if you're interested, and we'll set something up. So I appreciate all you guys. Thanks so much, and good luck tonight. Let's have a good Thursday before we have a big Friday and make $1 million on Sunday.